Good morning and namaste to all of you. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Bhavaswa, Tatsavitra Vareneyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ओम सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सवीर्यं कर्वावै तेजस्वी नावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 ओम. Today we are going to start the new Upanishad, and the name of this Upanishad is Aitareya Upanishad. Aitareya. We all know how vast our ancient literature is. We also know that how much of that got extinct also. Our libraries were burnt to ashes. But still there is a plenty for us to get the wisdom from. There were as many as 1,180 shakhas of Vedic literature. And it is believed that each school had one Upanishad attached to it. What happened to those Upanishads? Today we have about 108 only. And they are accepted as authentic texts. And out of these 108, 11 Ishavasya, Ken Upanishad, Kath Upanishad, Prashan Upanishad, Mundak Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Brahid Aryanyak Upanishad, and Shvetashwar Upanishad. These 11 have been commented upon by the ancient masterminds, acharyas. That's why these are called the major or the principal Upanishads. All these Upanishads, they enunciate one goal. And what is that goal? Liberation, moksha. Not only they talk about the goal, but they also give us the techniques of achieving that goal. All these Upanishads. We are familiar with the 4 names of Vedas: Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sam Ved, Atharva Ved. And we also know that they are further divided into 3 sections: Mantra, Brahman, and Aryanyak. We should know this terminology. The mantra portion of the Vedas contain expressions of wonderment, joy, and ecstasy by these rishis. Their voices almost choked when they looked at the beauty out there. They worshipped God through the mantras. They looked at the dignity of the mountain, the majesty of the sunrise, the beauty of the moon, the grandeur of the ocean. And they sang those mantras. And that is the mantra portion. Second section of the Vedas is called Brahman portion. Very detailed and scientific description of the methods of various rituals. Secret methods to invoke the mighty powers behind the nature. So this section has 2 parts, Karam Kand and Upasana Kand. Remember that. So the Brahman portion has 2 parts. The rituals, the rules, the prescriptions for various yajnas, they're all mentioned in this portion. And the last section, the third section, is called Aryanak. Aranya means forest. So that means that this portion needs to be studied with a quieter mind. All the psychological and intellectual churning in our mind got to be quiet if we want to understand this portion of the Vedas. Otherwise, all those stormy passions and desires, they don't let us dig deeper into this philosophy. Because this is called a philosophical portion of the Vedas. That's why if we just try to understand it vaguely or superficially, it doesn't make sense. We got to dig deeper. Aitareya Upanishad belongs to Rig Veda. There's another name for this Upanishad actually, Bhafiriko Upanishad. But it's commonly known as Aitareya Upanishad. In this Upanishad, we'll see that one of the Mahavakya is mentioned. And what is that Mahavakya? Pragyanam Brahma. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Consciousness is Brahma. So it's found in this Upanishad. This is one of the Upanishad where the Guru is known. Because a lot of Upanishads, we don't know who the Guru is. This Guru Rishi is Mahidas Aitareya. His father was a Brahman. Father's name was Vishal. And mother was Itra. There are a lot of stories about that. How he lived in the ashram, how he learned from his parents, mother as well as father. Actually, the father was a potter. So he is also called the sage of the laborers, son of the soil seer Aitareya, who attained godhood and authored this scripture for a common man. We learn that even the creator is not free to create a world as he likes. Because sometimes we wonder, why did God create all this? Why there are problems? So almost like a contractor would construct a house to his client's blueprints. The creator is bound by the total vasanas in the cosmos in creating the world. According to the vasanas. In all the vasanas, we can find a field to express themselves. With our actions, known and unknown, conscious and unconscious, we are constantly making a blueprint of our future. And the Lord is nothing but a contractor who is executing our plans. Whatever we give him, that's what he makes it. That's what this master is going to assert to us. We'll see two pronouns, that and this, which are very beautifully explained. Even a layman can grasp it. The point which is near to us is indicated by this, while the one which is farther from us is known by that. This is closer, that is far. So that subjective center which is nearest to us So near that there is no other point with reference to which it can never be that. We can never say that that's Atma, because it is the closest. And we'll see the definitions of all this in this Upanishad. This Upanishad provides a definite internal proof in case we need it, that a Hindu woman in the past had free access to the great teachers to learn Vedas. Because sometimes we think it's only for the male gender to study this. No. The importance of the prenatal education was highly developed, valued, enforced by these ancient sages. They laid great emphasis not only entertaining purely sattvic thoughts during pregnancy, but also eliminating even a chance of a sensual thought in a pregnant woman. When a person has lived a life in integration with his mind and intellect, we see that we need a combination of four parts for that integration: bhakti, karam, jnana, and hatha yoga. All four of them. Only then an individual starts gaining a deeper and clearer vision of his life as a whole. Otherwise, we are just looking at only one segment of it. We got to learn how to independently evaluate our life, get rid of all the imperfections. And when through right living, correct practices of devotion, we get fully integrated within, we really come to see the way the things are. Because we got to get rid of the attachments. Attachments are, I want this, I wish it was like that. We got to strip those attachments away. We got to get rid of the preconceived mental dreams and even ideas associated with it. This is what we're going to learn from this Upanishad. Only then that person is called a full grown person. Only then a person is fully qualified for the pursuit of the truth through the path of the knowledge. Such an individual comes to see the purposeless hollowness in this worldly business life. He comes to wonder that if I don't have that ultimate truth, if I don't understand that, the rest of the life is just an empty dream. Then there's a restlessness in that mind. Mere intellectual quest is not enough. There has to be a full integration. That's why we see our rishis, they were very diligent scientists in life. But our prophets and the masters, they were scientists of life also. So they knew the secular life also, and they knew the sacred life also. They knew the world of matter beautifully, completely. So that's why these rishis, they often encouraged the questions from the students, because those students, they approached the master, they poured out the questions of life, and they were seeking to understand the logic of the happening in it. For them, the duty was more sacred than right. Duty. And that's what we learn in Bhagavad Gita also. Lord Krishna keeps on telling us, Arjun, this is your duty. Duty is sacred. These early Aryans, when they sang in joy, addressing the rivers and the trees, the mountains and the clouds, sun and the moon, they were in the ecstasy, and that's how they became one with the nature. And society progressed from there. There was a coherence. There was the ultimate goal of life was right in front of them. And we are all familiar with the Rishi Parashar's son, Vedasya, who is the one who compiled all this and gave it to us. All these, whether it's a mantra portion or the Upanishad portions, so that we can study all this. The poet, the priest, as well as the philosopher, no matter from which angle they were looking at, they were just looking at the divine, the divinity. Sometimes in our daily transaction of language, we exaggerate things. In modern times, especially, we do that. But there's no exaggeration when they talk about the divine, how beautiful the divine is, how magnificent, how big. So, this is what we read in the mantra portion also. That's why we see that love is flowing. Our faith can get fired up, our devotion can get fired up. We see that, hey, are we sincere, earnest, or not in our endeavor? So, not in this Upanishad, but before the Upanishad, this story about this seer who was a Mahidas, who had a son named Vishal, born to his mother Itra. And when the boy grew up to the age of 5, he was sitting in his father's lap while doing the Havan as a Yajman. So the boy wanted to sit in the lap of a father, but this boy was a mother. There were two mothers. So the real mother, and you can call it a stepmother. Stepmother didn't want him to sit over there. So that means the boy was not allowed to sit in the lap of a father. So the child felt dejected, sobbing, came to his own mother and reported this sad incident in a very blabbering language. The motherly heart was burnt with anger. felt insulted. She fell on the ground and embraced her Ishta Devata, the Mother Earth. Mother Earth manifested herself to bless her devotee. And of the request of the god's spirit, Hari initiated Mahidas into the great wisdom, the secret of the immortal culture. So this boy grew perfect, came to declare to the world of his own language then, the language of the common man, the language of the workers. So the theme is of the infinite, the perfection. But how a common man can also experience the godhood. Not only for the Brahmins, not only for the elite class, but a common man also. That is a very vital core of our culture. That's why it's often said that this Aitareya Upanishad is the scripture of the common man. This great Upanishad has 6 sections. It's also called Atmasatka. We see the indication of the eternal principle through the manifestation of the familiar methods of the superimposition and negation, which we have seen in other Upanishads also. And in Sanskrit, it's called arop, apavad. That's how we'll learn the techniques. So this Upanishad elaborates the theories of creation described from time to time by other different masters also, because they use the same technique, superimposition. It's almost like when the ghost is seen, then the post is not there. As long as the post you don't see, you see the ghost. Or another example, we are familiar with the rope and the snake. Once you know that it's a rope, snake goes away. The same thing happened in this world. We are looking at this material world and we are not looking at the divinity. Once we see the divinity, we will see that everything else is temporary. So we'll go through a lot of examples also in this Upanishad. It's not a very long Upanishad, but some of the mantras are very, very long. So we'll just go through each mantra word by word so that you can understand it. And let's try to start with the Shantipath. Just like other Upanishads, there's a Shantipath. In this one also, there is a Shantipath. And part of this Shantipath you are familiar with in the other Upanishads, but we'll still go through the complete peace invocation. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita, mana me vaci pratisthitam avir me edhi, Vedasya me anisthah Srutam me ma prahasiranenadhitena ahoratran sandadhami Rtam vadisyami Satyam vadisyami Tatmam Avatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu mam Avatu vaktaramavatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we all know Om, that is God. Om. Vang, speech. Me means my. Manasi, in mind. Pratisthita, be rooted, firmly rooted. Manaha, mind. Me means my. Vaci, in speech. Pratisthitam, is rooted. Avir. That means, together it means reveal thyself. And whom we are saying reveal yourself? Brahma. Avir. Me means me. Edhi means to me. Me edhi. Vedasya, of the Veda, may anisthah, may I master. Srutam, heard. Me means me, ma means do not, prahasi, forsake. Anen, by this, adhitena, by studies. Ahoratran, days and nights. Sandhami, continuously live. Rtam, truth. Vadisyami, speak. After thinking, vadisyami, think and speak. Satyam, truth. Vadisyami, will speak. That means that. So that means that truth. Mam, me, avatu, protect. Tat, that. Vaktaram, he who speaks. Over here, that means the teacher. Avatu, protect. Avatu, mam, protect me. Avatu, vaktaram, protect the teacher. Avatu, vaktaram, protect the teacher. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, so this peace invocation will do every time. And it's like both the students and the teacher, they say it. Because we all need the protection from God. Oh, may my speech be rooted in my mind. May my mind be rooted in my speech. See, this is an integration, harmony. Brahma, reveal thyself to me. O mind and speech, enable me to grasp the truth that the Vedas teach. Because these are the instruments given to us, tools. Through that we understand. Let not what I have heard forsake me. Let me continuously live my days and nights in my studies. I think truth. I speak truth. May that truth protect me. May that protect the teacher. Protect me, protect the teacher, protect the teacher. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So before the actual study of the Upanishads is undertaken, the students always got assembled for the purpose that at the feet of their Guru, bring the mind into that concentration. That's why they chanted along with the teacher in a chorus song, actually. And they, both the teacher and the students, they are addressing to God, to Brahma, invoking the grace of the Supreme, so that there may be a continuous unison established between the teacher and the taught throughout the study session. So this is what we see. We can just imagine that how those ashrams must have been. What a great harmony. Near the bank of Ganga, initiating the students the secret of this Vedic truth. And it is not against the principle of bhakti or the practice of the prayers. We see that through surrender and love, all this is being recited. Surrender. So this piece or this Shantipath, this invocation, is very typical of all the Upanishads. So different Upanishads, they have a different peace prayers, but basically there's an integration of the intellect and the mind, the hearing and the speaking. and feeling oneness over there. Right living and a high thinking. So all the great masters of the world have constantly advised to maintain a perfect consistency between their thoughts and expressions, actually. If it's not practiced properly, the student will never be able to express the spiritual doubts correctly, precisely to the teacher. So there got to have a atmosphere where students can ask, and whatever teacher is saying, students grasp also. So sincerity has to be there. Because if a person lives a life of disintegration, that means if the words are expressing something different than what the student is thinking, there's no harmony. And that's where the problems come. It's almost like a dangerous shattering in the inner personality. It's almost like a musical instrument. If it's cracked somehow, somewhere, we know what kind of a music it will play. So they prayed for inner strength to live every moment of their lives in a healthy harmony between their mental waves and verbal expressions. Brahma, give thyself to me. Okay, remembering Brahma. And in the Hindu scriptures, Brahma is the term that indicates the supreme reality. That supreme reality which is all pervading. And the manifestations of the Brahma are in this entire world. Whatever we see, it's nothing but Brahm actually, in the manifested form. But at the same time, we got to remember that eternal substratum, changeless, infinite, the source of all activities in the knowledge is Brahma. We should not forget that. We'll see that Atma is the word used to indicate the touch of life. That's Atma. So the students and the teacher assemble together to teach and learn the scriptural declarations given out by the rishis of the old. And all that can be understood only when this is delivered by a man of experience. A person who has the purity also, sincerity. And this is what we see in these Upanishads. That's why these disciples, they sit at the feet of the Guru. And they can just have a single-minded devotion also, concentration also, and a connection also. So the student addressing the deities of the speech and mind, requesting them to enable him to grasp the truth. Whatever my Guru is saying, please, Devta, give me that power so that I can grasp it. Let what I have heard slip not from me. That means whatever I have learned, I should not forget. Because each day's lessons has a direct bearing upon the arguments and the explanations. And if we have forgotten the previous days, we cannot move forward. So that means the continuity of the study can be beautifully maintained only when the studies have been grasped and remembered. So that means the memory has to be there. If we have forgotten, it's no good. We know that Sanskrit term for this is called Medha Shakti. Medha Shakti, important item in the inner wealth for a student on the path of knowledge. Medha Shakti. And then he says, may I join day with the night in the study? See, we like to study for a few minutes and forget about it. But over here, the students are saying that I want to continuously employ my mind to dwell upon the thoughts for a long period of time. So this mental and intellectual process of assimilation, we got to keep in mind, and which is called manan, reflection. In order to do the manan, we don't need to renounce the world. Sometimes we think, if I keep on doing the manan, how will I do my duties? We can do the duties and still do the manan. We don't have to run away into a quiet corner for manan. We can be cooking, cleaning, taking care of the children, doing our job, but still we can do the manan. So that's why he said, day with the night in the studies. Even during sleep also, we are doing the manan. What did you hear from my sister before the class? At night, she was doing the part. That's a manan. Mind doesn't sleep. Atma doesn't sleep. Body is taking rest. But we can constantly remember God. Manan. This is what this Rishi is telling us. It is most effectively undertaken by maintaining a corner of our mind in those thoughts. Corner of our mind. That's all it takes, actually. And pretty soon what happens, if we have a thought of Brahman in a corner of our mind, the whole mind is full of a fragrance of Brahman. It's almost like if we have a beautiful incense burning in a corner of the house. Can't we smell it in the entire house? The same thing happens in our mind also. So thoughts and the ideas, they will reflect in our speech also sooner or later. But first we have to bring the thoughts of Brahma, what we are learning, in the corner of our mind. So this process should be undertaken studiously, sincerely, in the early days at least. And then pretty soon, day and night, we are just enveloped in this. Then he says, I think truth, I speak truth. We have been from childhood onwards hearing that we should be truthful and honest, and that untruth and falsehood will bring upon us sorrows and despairs. So that's what's repeated over here. I think truth. We need to train our mind so that we always think in the terms of my own intellectual conviction. Only then we can say that I speak the truth. So that means I express my words of mouth truly what I think. There's no disharmony between my thought and my words. And then towards the end, he says, it's like a triple utterance of peace. Triple. Adhidevik, adhibautik, adhyatmik. There's always some kind of a agony which can come, which can put a little hindrance in our studies. So the students are saying that, please, God, Brahm, help us so that our studies don't have any break. So we will be chanting this peace prayer every time we start this Upanishad. Okay. So Aitareya Upanishad. So this was just a little introduction. Look into it. And next week we'll start with the chapter 1 and verse number 1. And then the very first word is Atma over there. Om Atma va idam ev agr asit na anyat kinchan. It's a beautiful verse, and we'll go through the details of that next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.